Hello, friends. So, I was really debating how to do this because um, this is a subject I've been kind of talking to you about, and I debated whether I should do this like written out or if I should do a live stream or how I should go about it. But thought there's just so much to say that I figured it was just way easier also if I show you on video and just kind of chit chat with you about it. So, you know, we've been trying to get to how to better promote, how to better, get into the cosplay business type of thing. And this is something I've been doing for a very long time, and this is something that I've actually helped a lot of cosplayers and a lot of cosplayers that are big cosplayers now to get started. And just so crazy. So I can tell you that this works. I'm not talking out of my ass here. And this is just something that does take a lot of work and a lot of consistency. And I do want you to keep in mind that what I'm telling you is something that I think changes. So I might tell you something today that might not apply tomorrow. So try to go with the ebb and flow of cosplay because um, I believe in the past even 2 years, especially with the advent of TikTok, cosplay has changed so much. So I feel that what might be important to companies changes. So I'm going to give you the overview on what to do, how to go about it, and all these things. Things that have helped me, things that I have seen have helped other people. And I think that just take all this information and see what works for you. So I'm sorry that this is kind of what would be the right word? Like kind of laid back. I do wish I could show you these things in a much more professional manner, but I really just want to be as real and as authentic with you as possible, which is my first point in all of this is the which I have spoken about before is trying to be as real and as much as yourself as possible, and there are certain things that people will look at for like a company because they want people who can sort of fit their image. What I'm trying to say is not necessarily be malleable. Instead, I'm trying to say is know what you're about, know your brand, try to focus on that, double down on, the stuff that you're very passionate about because that will always yield you the best results. And as we go along, I'm going to give you some examples. So, um, I've mentioned before how a big start to doing any sort of cosplay business is focusing on social media. Right now, something that is very big in social media is having great engagement. And unfortunately, social media now also is very much a business. So they want you to spend money on doing ads. So trying to do great engagement and having this awesome and or going viral and all these things, it's really, really, really hard when you are doing it completely organic, meaning you're not spending money on it. So, what do? You have to then really learn what all of your insights mean, and that way you can focus on specific times, specific types of content, seeing what works the best for you, what did the best, what's bringing you people in. It used to be likes. But companies realized, especially after so many people were purchasing likes, is what good is it if, let's say, you have 1 million followers but no one says anything on your stuff, that means that you don't have any influence on your followers at all. Whereas someone who might have a smaller following, but they have people who are constantly posting, like on their, or commenting on their posts, and being engaging in their posts, that is valuable, because then that means that that person within their community has insight or value for a company, because as they grow, so does the engagement. So the likes, the amount of likes or followers, that doesn't really matter. So I think that right now the average is, if you have at least like 5,000 followers, is what's considered already a micro influencer. You don't need to have that, but it is a good like basis for what bigger companies kind of like start at. I would say having at least 1,000 followers, because then that goes beyond, like, the average person might have like 100 or so people that they kind of interact with, or who are online real friends plus family. So I would say, and as someone who works for companies looking at influencers and stuff like that, I would say at least 1,000 followers. But anything past 5,000 is like what you would consider like an actual like micro influencer. So I'm just, we're talking numbers and stuff. So if that's your start, then definitely focus on your engagement and how you go about that. A lot of times, if you can't spend the money on it, is posting, and posting a lot, especially videos, especially TikTok, especially Reels, and doing it very often. The company that I work for, we actually had just boosted our posts, because we don't have like a huge budget. We want to spend it on other things, but we have a very little to no budget to that we want to spend regularly on advertisements. So everything that we do is organic. So I can tell you from even a company that is trying to boost their engagement, that the solution is to post more frequently. And even though some people might leave, the people who are staying is, they'll be more likely to engage with your content. So don't freak out if you post more often and you see that it might look like your posts aren't doing as well. Like, you might not get more likes per posts, but you'll notice that your engagement rate or percentage is actually going to go up. So it's a lot of info, but try and start paying attention to your social media. So that's like the first thing, because this is going to be your portfolio. I highly recommend that you have a website or some sort of landing page that has a more professional look, something that is your branding, something somewhere that explains a little bit more about you outside of social media. Because that way companies can also find you and see who you are outside of what is being curated in your socials. So definitely have that. And also create a business email, and put it everywhere on all of your socials. If you want people to reach out to you, always put in your bio, or where people see anything about you, front and center, you want it to say, for business inquiries, email, and insert your email. This is going to help you a ton, because it's also going to help you figure out people who are serious about working with you, rather than just, well, I ignored everything you say and I'm just going to write to you in your DMs. So you can start to put your foot down that way. So let's then go to the next step, which is reaching out to businesses. So I hear about this all the time from friends and stuff that they want to get invites to conventions or that they want to get gigs maybe from companies and stuff like that. Um, the first thing is to try and figure out the contact information. It's much easier with conventions because they usually just have that on their website, like information or something. If you're not sure, you can always try to contact them via um, messaging and just seeing like, hey, I would like to contact. I would love to have the contact to the person who takes care of invites or being involved mm, with your marketing or collaborating or something like that. Um, and that way you can first find the information. Make sure that every time that you write anything, it is imperative to be as clear, concise, and professional as possible. If you start an email or something like, hey, or just too casual, it's a huge red flag. And that's something that also you need to keep in mind when people reach out to you or how they respond back to you. Because that is a telltale sign of someone being professional and being serious. And it seems, let me tell you, it seems so obvious, but you would be so surprised at how many people do not do this and how many people have no idea how to properly write or have good grammar or anything like that, and that shouldn't matter, but those are things that people will look at. So if you are unsure about your own writing or anything like that, have someone spell check for you, have someone double check how to put together an email, or if just cover your bases, because it really will make a difference. Because uh, I think companies want to work with someone that they are capable, smart, reliable, because a lot of stuff goes fast. Sometimes turnarounds are quick. And these types of things are the what weed people out, you know, because you can't really, without talking to someone, you can only grasp from little moments like emails. So make sure that everything that you write is, I'm not saying use like big language or anything like that, but just being very professional and courteous and as polite as possible. I hear sorry, my dog is next to me and he's like burping and scratching. You know I'm talking about, you mean. He's so cute. I'm sorry. Anyway, professional. Yeah, there you go. Rohan. But let's continue. So getting in touch with conventions is something that I definitely recommend if you want to be invited to conventions. So there's a few things that happen. I'm telling you, there is just so much information. So there's a few things that happen with reaching out to conventions or getting invites. Specifically, let's start with conventions. Um, there are people who will usually reach out to cosplayers only because they know already the cosplayer. A lot of times, and I'm telling you, a huge amount of time, companies do not have the time or the budget to be looking up who will fit their criteria. They're just going to go for the first person that pops up or that has a big following or that maybe they themselves know. So a lot of cosplayers often wonder, wow, why did this person get invited? I don't understand, or I don't even know this cosplayer. But you look at their social media and they have like 500,000 followers. And you're like, what? I've never heard of them before. Or you might even have people who are like so important in that community, but maybe don't have like a huge following, and you might be wondering like, well, why is this person not getting invited? So there's a lot of confusion or that for whatever reason, cosplayers think that because they're not being picked to get invited to a con, that they're not valuable or something like that. So let me just clarify that for you. It's not you. It's just there's no time. The market is so saturated. So if it, like, look at it from their point of view, if you don't know a lot of cosplayers, or you might know a few of them, and your company is telling you, okay, well, we have to find some people, what are you going to do? You're going to look for the people who might sell tickets, the big sellers, like, or the people that maybe you might know, maybe even your friends. So start with that. Start knowing that it's not impossible. And that's why it's upsetting when people think that getting gigs and getting invited to cons or whatever is like the end all be all, that they have made it as cosplayers. Like, it really is not like that, and it is work. And that's why I would love for you to pursue this in a way that is also beneficial for you, and that companies stop exploiting cosplayers, because that is what's happening. So now you have that in mind, okay? So reaching out to cons, we're about to email, we're professional, we got this. What do you do? What do you say? So you want to first write your what I like to call a cosplay press kit. There's two ways to do this. So I'm going to kind of talk to you through it on how you can put it together. So basically, this press kit is going to have all of the information about you, what you offer, all these things, right? In like a little packet. And it's something that then you can send to the convention, and you mention to them like you have an interest in being a guest at their convention, and however you want to word it, or that you would like to be involved with their convention, and you are forwarding them your press kit with all of the information, and that you would love to for them to take a look at it, and if they need anything else to message you. So you kind of get the idea. Basically, you're presenting this cosplay press kit to them. So what is a press kit? So we're going to build one. So grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or whatever, and we're gonna do this. And I have it up. I have mine up here, but because it's got like personal info and stuff, I won't show you, but we'll go through it. So I'm going to tell you this in sections. So the best way to kind of organize it, or well, not the best, it's really not, it's just how I do it, because I need visuals. So it's just I make little sections, right? So the first section, and then you can either fit each section as a page or several blocks in one or several pages. But that's why I would rather do it as sections rather than pages. I hope that makes sense. But we'll go through it, and then I think it'll make more sense as we go, is what I'm trying to say. So the first section is a section that will be like the cover, basically. So you want this to have your photo, or a main photo, it could be about you or something, and that it has your name, and if you have like an alias. So like, for example, for me, even though everybody knows me as Indra, for the longest time my alias was Fantasy Ninja, and I still use it in some stuff, but that's something to be included. So maybe you might have a different name in your socials, so make sure to mention that. Also, try for, if you have any sort of alias that you're going by, that all of your socials have the same thing, so that it is not confusing. So, and underneath that, that's where you want like your phone number, your address, your email, that sort of thing, right? So we have that section. So your photo, your name, your alias, and then your name, address, email, and your website. Sorry, that's right. Website. Wow, that looks janky AF. But here we go. So moving on to section 2. So section 2, let's put S1 here. So section 2 is the overview. Basically, it's a little paragraph where you want to include what your qualifications are, basically. Like, why should they hire you? But try to get this, make it as like TLDR as possible. So for me, it might be something kind of like when I started my career, my cosplay career, what it is, maybe some benchmarks, like for me, for example, like that I was in Heroes of Cosplay, or that I was in the Team USA, or things like that, that it's like your street cred, basically. And if you don't have these things, you can mention maybe, and you don't have to say specific things, because then it sounds a little too wordy, like, well, so and so is started in 2000 and they won the 2001 best in show at X whatever convention. You don't need to do that. You can say award-winning cosplayer, and maybe things that you are passionate about, like with a focus on like armor building and trying to build community, or doing skits, or doing panels and things at cons, and so you always have something to offer. This is where you put it. This is your overview. So your little paragraph of like your TLDR of hire me, and then underneath that, you want to include your latest coverage. And that means if you've done any sort of like interviews, if you've been in any articles, if you have, anything like that, and you want to start from like, you don't want to necessarily list them all, just being like the most recent thing, and you want this to kind of be within like a year or two from when you're writing this. Always update it. If you don't have that sort of thing, then you don't have to include it as latest coverage. You can say maybe like things that are worth mentioning, like maybe awards, that sort of thing, like that I think would be a good place to put that. So in our section 2, then it's like our overview, our qualifications, basically. So overview and latest coverage. The next thing is going to be the next section 3, is going to be your booking information, right? So this is going to be, this is going to have a few subsections, let's say. So booking info. And the first subsection is going to be what I call request. And request means what it is that you would like from the convention. So you want to make sure that you include what accommodations you want, like your hotel accommodations, your travel arrangements, if you want an artist table or a booth, if you want food, if you want a per diem, if you want a certain amount of badges, if you want an appearance fee, and anything. And this is where you have to be so precise, because trust me, conventions will try to cut whatever expense they have, starting with cosplayers, because in the entertainment of what a convention has, the majority of them will provide everything for actors, then voice actors, and then cosplayers. So keep that in mind. So it's better for you to ask and say what is negotiable for you, and you can even put it in parentheses, like let's say have a my booking fee is such and such, and in parentheses you can say negotiable. We'll get more on fees and stuff later. Let's build this first. Make sure if you need an assistant or if you need a plus one, that they are also taken care of, or that at least they're covering a few things. So this is where you write the request. We'll put this, what you want from the con. What you want from the con. And then the next subsection, say number 2, is exchange. And that is what it is that you are going to do for the convention. What is the quid pro quo here? You know what I mean? So for mine, I'll give you some examples, and then you can kind of pick that you are appearing in costume, that you can have a backdrop, or something themed, that you can do meet and greets, and that you are providing your own prints or your own stuff, or you can say if you like doing costume contest judging, or judging other types of contests, you can do that. Specify. You want to specify because you might be then put into, because it's happened to me, to do contest judging of something that you have no idea about, or they might put you in like a panel or something that you have no idea about. So make sure that you tell them that you will provide your own panels, and you have to specify like if that you're willing to be a part of other panels, or that you're not, like that sort of thing. You can also mention that you will provide social media coverage, or that you will promote the convention in your socials, and then you can say, I'm gonna post about your con at these channels, and you can add links, or you can leave it very general, like in all of my preferred social media profiles or something like that. But that's where you write what it is. So it says here, exchanges, what you will do for the con. All right. And then section 3, subsection 3 of that is the specifics. And that means specifics is where you mention if you require, for example, let's say a per diem. You want to then say, I require a per diem to be of X amount of dollars, or something that will cover, let's say, 3 meals per day. Or if you, for example, have, let's say that you are driving to a convention, that you're in your specifics, it says that the convention has to pay for your parking fees, or specifics. I think specifics are important. It's definitely covered a lot of bases for myself. I'd rather a con be like, this is too much, than it being a surprise. So put an asterisk with specifics. I recommend it. You don't necessarily have to, but I think it's a good idea, especially if you have any sort of we'll get more on this later, but especially if it's like a bigger convention, or if certain things are not provided for you, or if they are expecting you to do a lot of stuff at the con. Let's say that, for example, You want to go to a con, and the biggest thing that you want to do is have a booth and meet people and maybe sell some prints. And you're cool with maybe doing a cosplay contest judging. It sounds about average, right? A lot of conventions, when they tell you that they want you, you'll have your booth, you'll have your stuff, you'll do cosplay contest judging, but we also want you to do a two panels or something like that. And the next thing you know, you spend all of your time working the convention and not being at your booth at all. At all. So this is why specifics I think are important, because then you can mention those things. Like, sure, I'll be willing to do a panel, but it needs to be within these hours because I need to be at my booth at least 8 hours or something like that, or within a certain times, like either early in the day or late at night. And uh if I am not going to be at my booth, then I need to be provided my own like plus one, because a lot of times the con will be like, well, we'll have someone watch your booth, and then what happens? You don't. I don't trust anybody, so I'm like, no, thank you. And but of course, this might be different at conventions that you might feel are a lot more beneficial for you because they've already paying so much that you're whatever, it doesn't matter, that you're cool with it, that you feel like it's fine if you're not always at your booth. Or the reverse, where you feel like just the experience of going to this con is completely worth it for you. And again, we'll touch more on that later. So, but I want to give you an idea of what I mean by specifics. Any fees, anything like that that you require, specify it here. So, especially when it has to do with your time. So, that is section 3. So, section 3. So, subsection 1. Section 3 is booking info, and that is subsection 1 is request, and that is what you want from the con. Number 2 is exchange, which is what you would do for the con. And then number 3, which is specifics. So let's get to the next section. Section 4, which is your promotional items. And this is basically like once that you want to let them know in this section that these are the items and images that if we book and we have already made our arrangements and the contract has been signed, this is how I would like to be promoted on your website or on your socials, and word that as you want. I'm just kind of giving you the TLDR here. But at a lot of cons, if you go to their website, you'll see like a little biography of the person and some pictures and stuff. So basically, this is just for you to have like your items ready to go. Maybe get a Dropbox with like your preferred images, because it's happened to me in the past where I will get invited to a con and we haven't even signed a contract or anything yet, and they're already talking about me in all of their social media, and they use a bunch of pictures that I'm like, I don't feel like that's the way that I'm crafting right now, or I don't feel like that's my best image. I don't want that to be like I'm sure that you can understand that you might have photos that better display who you are in that moment as a crafter or cosplayer, or how you want people to know you, especially if maybe you want people to know you more for, let's say, it's because it's happened to me and that's why I'm struggling to say this. Like, I would love for people to see my pictures and see the stuff that I spend time sewing, or my armor, like all these things, but they show like a closet cosplay of some random thing because it was a little bit more sexy or something. And I know that that sells, but it's your image and how you want to be presented. So again, you don't want to be exploited. So uh sorry if I sound so serious about these things. It's because it happens, and that's why it's like this will cover all of your bases. So that's why you want this little promo thing to have like a little bio. So a little bio of what you want, like I guess the website to say about you. You want all of your social links. I'll put that so how people can find you. And then you want a link to images. And that's why I say get a Dropbox or a Google folder with the photos, like the current photos that you would like to be used for promotion. And make sure that if any of these images are with like you've worked with photographers and stuff like that, that they're okay with you using them for that. So that is the packet, the press kit. So section 4 is the promo items, which is your bio, social links, and then a link to your images. And you want to also add a little thing at the top here. I'll put a star. You know, that you let them know, like, hey, these are the things that I would like. This is how once we make final arrangements and a contract has been signed and we have agreed upon everything, this is how I would like to be promoted and showcased in your socials, in your website, and stuff like that. So you want to always make sure that you let them know what it is that you are sending them. And in all of these, anything that you want to specify, you also want to let them know that they're totally like that you're super cool with like getting requests, and that you can let them know like additional items can be requested, or if you need more information or things that you are flexible with, you know, especially with things like negotiating any sort of prices. So let's get into that subject. So when you want to figure out your fees and what you should ask for, because this is a big thing. So you might have to change your press kit depending on the con that you are sending this to. So a lot of cons might be really small or local or something like that, where you might feel cool just that you just want to go. You just want to be present, and but you have to absolutely be okay with that being the exchange. I cannot like say this enough. You don't want to work for free. And what I mean by that is not necessarily financially, but that there is some worth to you. Getting a convention invite will, I do not think that unless you're going to like some big international event, that it will really do anything to promote you as a cosplayer, like to get you out there. Social media, you're more likely to see it in social media. It is a great way to meet more people and to add legitimacy to your brand, absolutely. But I don't want that to, and I think it's wonderful to work with people. I do think that it is awesome, but I don't think that it is the end all be all that a lot of cosplayers say it is. Because the way that cosplayers see it is not an exchange in wanting to promote themselves, but rather that if I get an invite, I'm suddenly in this like upper stratus, or that suddenly people are going to know who I am. that's how cosplayers think about being invited to cons. And really, it's a lot of work, and it can be so expensive, and you have to be very, very, very objective about the time that you are putting in outside of the convention. And what I mean by that is how you prepare for the con. There, you took time to maybe make your costumes. Maybe if you have a panel, putting that panel together, ordering your prints for pictures that you might or might not sell. And I I don't want you to have poor expectations or to like undersell it or something like that. Not at all. It's awesome, and I think everyone should try to be guests at a con. I'm just trying to let you know that what you're going to get out of being a guest at a con is connecting with people, is letting them know you at that level outside of social media, and what you as a professional are, um, and not what a lot of cosplayers think that it is, that they're going to become popular if they are invited to a con. So I just hope that that kind of answers that. The reason why you want to book conventions is because it definitely gives you more credibility, and I've said this before, to other types of jobs that you might want to get as a cosplayer. Maybe working some gigs, maybe getting into bigger conventions, or maybe even doing more traveling. I think that it starts with smaller, more local conventions, and then you can go to another state and then to another country. Like that's where it's important, or that's why you want to book all of these like cons, because then once you do a con, the con circuit, all talk, and they if you see one person booking one con, that con might own another convention, another state, and they might say like, hey, we had so many people saying that they loved having you at a con, we're going to invite you to this other one, and that's how it kind of builds. I just want you to have realistic expectations of what it is that it means to work a con. So I say all of this because I want you to consider what is worth it for your price. So you might be going at a local con, might be something that might be, simple, whatever. You might not need an appearance fee for something like that because you feel fulfilled by just being there, by just attending, by being a guest, kind of getting your feet wet, kind of thing. If they have you doing a lot of running around, working the con, doing, that you need to put together um, panels, and that you need to do costume contests and stuff like that, then maybe start to consider, okay, well, if I am able to do a lot of booth work where I can sell my own merch or prints or stuff like that, then maybe at least having my bases covered, my, let's say, my airfare, my travel expenses, or gas if it's close enough to where you can drive, or your food, that sort of thing. I think the minimum for being invited as a guest, because otherwise I don't think you're a guest, is having your travel expenses paid for, your hotel paid for, and your food paid for. Um, and sometimes some conventions might not have a big budget, and that's totally understandable. But then you see if that's something that you also, if it's worth it for you, and then if you have to put anything yourself, then certain things you'll be like, okay, cool, well then I won't judge your contest, or I won't uh do 3 panels or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. And then if you have a lot more, and I think also when you have more credibility as far as you've already done a few cons, or if the convention is bigger, especially with big cons. Big cons are the ones that they don't want to pay, but they're the ones that have the budget for it. So um you want to ask for a fee that, maybe you might negotiate, no problem, but I do think that it is worth absolutely your time, because you're going to have to deal with a lot more people, a lot more um presumptions of cosplayers, because it happens at big cons. You might get harassed or anything like that. So you want everything to be. Oh, and I hate saying that. I don't want you to think that that's what being a guest is, but I want you to like feel like it's also worth it for you. It can be so tiring and so exhausting, and on top of that, you're doing that all in costume. So try to figure out what it is that would be beneficial for you. I think a start for an appearance fee, if they're paying for everything else, is at least $100 per day. I recommend, I think that an average of someone who can do a lot and can offer a lot to a con is at least like $500 for the weekend. And that's like, baby. I know bigger cosplayers that they charge thousands, but it makes sense because they also have, they're offering huge social media coverage for the convention, and that does have value. So you have to kind of see the exchange here, and you're gonna have to kind of figure that on your own. But I want you to at least have some info of what can happen, and I don't want to throw negatives at you. I'm just trying to keep it real. But I think going to cons is wonderful. You get to meet so many awesome people. You have awesome opportunities, like from connecting and networking, and um, especially if you like to do things like panels or contest judging and stuff like that, that it really gets you in this other circuit within the cosplay community. So that was a lot, right? But let's keep going. So now we're gonna get into what if you want to book gigs with a company, right? So we might do a part two, but it's basically the. Actually, I'll go over it, and um, you can let me know if there is anything that needs a little more. We need to talk about it a little bit more, because I think I can. All right, I can just. It's basically the same thing, but if we need to kind of flesh out, more information or whatever, just let me know. So, if you want to, I think it's a little bit tougher with getting gigs with companies, because a lot of times they don't provide contact information. And that's why I mentioned before, you might want to ask through their socials, especially for whatever reason. Even though Twitter, I don't think is the best option for cosplayers, for companies to see cosplayers, a lot of companies use Twitter. So you can like directly contact them if they don't respond through email or something like Instagram, which I think is the biggest platform for cosplayers. Because you want them to basically see your work. You want them to be like, "Who's that?" Click on the stuff, but for whatever reason, it's bigger on Twitter, so you might have to hit them up through there if you don't know their contact info. You want to do the research, absolutely, and you want to be as authentic as possible, because you also don't want to talk to a company and know nothing about them, or have no interest in their brands or anything like that. So um, there's different things as far as like getting gigs. First one is doing just like exchange. Like you can reach out to a wig company, and you can do all of this like either email or DM, and just I think those types of things are more casual things that are exchange for content, like um contact lenses, wigs, stuff like that. And you want to always, if you do get any of these, you want to tag yourself as an influencer, because people are constantly looking at those tags, and then they'll see this person is an influencer, so I'm going to reach out to them about my product. And another way to do this is with, if you have maybe any friends who have merch or anything like that, that maybe they can give you their merch at a, uh, I wouldn't suggest getting it for free, but renting it to you, or even selling it to you at a discount, or even, working out something with friends that might have merch that you can kind of start from there. Um, you can also do this with, there are some third party influencer recruiters like Influencer or Maverick, and you basically sign up at these websites, and they will do the process for you. They You fill out your information and what it is that you would be interested in being an influencer for, and then they will email you about different campaigns, and then you can sign up for those campaigns and see if they hire you for the campaign or not. So look it up. There are so many influencer websites, but don't pay for that. That's something that, like, they should be paying you for that. So look out for those types of things if you're going into these types of websites. Like, make sure you do the research with them. But if you yourself want to contact a big company, this is the next media kit that I want to tell you, because it's very different than for cons, because obviously you're not doing panels or judging costume contests for these companies, so it's a little bit different. Same concept, same type of thing, where you basically email them, let them know about you, that you want to work with them, etc. So we're going to do this the same way in sections. So first one we'll say is the Cosplay Press Kit, and this one we'll call this a media kit. So for your media kit, you want this to have, I do this in 3 sections. So section 1 is your about me. And when you do these, by the way, you want to sprinkle some of your photos, especially like in and out of costume, so people can see what it is that you do. It's awesome if you add photos of you at cons, if you have any photos where you are, like, the candid type of photos where maybe someone took of you when you were on stage, or signing prints or something like that, where it's, people can get a sense of who you are as a cosplayer and as a person. I hope that makes sense. So just keep that in mind, that as I'm talking about these sections, you want to include photos in all of these sections. So media kit, section 1. So it is the about me. So that's where you want that. I think this one is more first person. You are talking like, oh, I am such and such. Whereas the Cosplay Press Kit is more third person. And a little bit, I think, more business, more formal in that sense. So this one is more, I think, narrowed down, because it's more about social media. Really, that's what it is when you work for companies. So you want a section like that says like about me, and then you want to, it might be like a little paragraph of maybe where you're from, what you're doing, what it is that you are about. You're a cosplayer, you're a makeup artist, you are all these things, right? Little blurb about you. Um, then you want to include your socials. And what I mean by that is you want to include your links but you want to also include your follower count, like your, I guess, metrics. We'll call that metrics. We'll say like followers. And then you want to include a what you get paragraph, which is like, because you've already told them like, hey, I'm a cosplayer, I'm a makeup artist, blah 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 blah. So these are my socials, and for each one, this is how many followers I have. And you can do if you are a Twitch streamer, you can include that. You can include how many followers you have, your basically your most preferred platforms, and so that then, and this, the last part of this section is what you get, and then you can say stuff like um I'm like, for me, I'll read you mine is costuming and makeup. I'm bilingual. I offer pro art and photography or video, family friendly content, influencer model tutorials, panels, meet and greets, like that sort of thing. You can add more to it, of course, but basically is what you get is like the TLDR list of what you can offer. And then section 2 is any brands, let's put here, any brands that you have worked with in the past. This is where you include them. You want to, this is where your brands and benchmarks go. So if you have been how long you've been cosplaying for, that's a benchmark. Or if you have done a specific project for a company, like, or you were the model for something, or any of these partnerships or things that you might have done, that's where you put them, or which brands you have done work for. And then you can put brand opportunities, and that includes sort of like another thing that you can do for a brand that isn't in your what you get list. So what I mean specifically, it's because this is brand specific. So you want to say you can do reviews for the brand, you can do giveaways for the brand, product placement, sponsored posts, ambassadorships. Like these types of things are what you want to include here that you can do for them. And you can even include other things that you might want to kind of talk about here. And then section 3, and we'll review all of these in a sec, is photos. And what I like to do, because this is a little bit more like quick type content, rather than offering a folder so they can all go through it. This is quick. You want to like in and out. You want this company to see you. Is just have let's see how many I have here. I have like 12 photos, like 12 pics. And just as varied as possible of like all of your cosplays or makeup, depending on what it is that you want to reach out to the company for. Like, do you want to be a cosplayer for this company? Do you want to just be an influencer for them? Like, you know, if you've done stuff for other brands, like you can show like, oh, this is me modeling that one. This is what I look like when I model clothes, or this is what I look like, when I do crazy makeup, and this is me doing, so you want to show your whole gamma of like, this is what I can do in 12 pictures. And so that way they have an understanding of how like if I see that, then I can say, oh, this is how we can fit our image or our product, you know, with this person. So um, that's kind of what you want to do. So media kit. Section 1 is about me, your socials with your followers, um, what you get subsection, which is the TLDR of what you can offer based on who you are. Then section 2 is brands and benchmarks. So any brands that you have worked with, any important things that you have done. If you have not worked for any brands, benchmarks are a great way to kind of fluff your content. If you are an award winner, if you have been doing something specific for a very long time, like for example, you can say, I have been a makeup artist for 15 years, or I've been a cosplayer for, 10 years, whatever. Whatever it is for you. I'm just throwing numbers out there. And then brand opportunities, which is what I mentioned before, anything that you can do specifically for the brand. And then section 3, which is photos. Don't you love my graph? Look at that. It's so symmetrical. God damn. Artist. I swear. No, but in all seriousness, though, that is the 2 kits that you should have. You want to update them, and you also want to pay attention to who you are sending these to, because you might have to kind of change a few things around so that it caters a little bit more towards that specific brand. So, for example, let's say you want to, and this goes for both. Like if, for example, you are wanting to be hired by a convention that is very small, then a lot of your requests can look a little bit different than, say, trying to get booked by a bigger convention. Same thing for your media kit. If you want to work for a company that where you want to be, let's say, doing more modeling type work, then maybe your photos will look different because you want them to see you more as the model, and not like all cosplay or all makeup. Like if you reach out to a company and they, um, let's say, really fancy wigs, and you are like all about it and you really want to work with them, but they are expensive wigs or they're very particular. It's not like the cute exchange that you can do through like Instagram, that you're like, hey, I see that you're a little wig company, you want to trade, if it's not like that and you actually want to do something a little bit more professional with them. I'm using wigs as an example. um, then your photos might be of you wearing different wigs or different makeup looks, so that you can show them like, hey, I can really style your wig. So I kind of cater a little bit and change depending on who you are sending this to. So it's a lot of info, right? But that's basically what you do. It seems way more complicated and like this really crazy impossible thing that only just a few get selected, and it really isn't like that. It's just there's not a lot of information and you have to kind of put yourself out there. And the biggest thing that I can tell you with all of this is, do not get discouraged. Do not get discouraged if you don't hear a reply. um, Sometimes you might get a reply immediately, sometimes you don't hear anything back at all. Do not get discouraged. Try not to put all of your eggs into one basket either. Try to kind of talk to different cons, different companies, and stuff like that. And a big thing that companies resonate with is if you are a mega fan, if you are very, very passionate about a particular thing and you genuinely show that you love the product and stuff like that. So, um, just be yourself, I guess is the best way I can say it, is be yourself, like turned up to 11. um I think a lot of times we're so scared to like oh, make posts because it's not specific, or the costume isn't good enough, or oh, I don't have makeup on, or something like that. It doesn't matter. Brands look for authenticity, brands look for people to connect with, because nowadays, the way that people shop, and this is what all of these companies, conventions, everything, what they are looking at is getting their product in, getting their business in. And they understand that the way that people shop now is through uh, credibility between peers. And what I mean by that is that, for example, let's say you and I are friends, and I tell you, man, I've been using this computer mouse and it is baller, man. Like, I always have trouble with my old ones. This one's great and whatever. That might actually pique your interest. You might be like, whoa, well, what is it? Or oh, you might be more likely to purchase it than if you see, like, X mouse, bleh, special effects, like 3D. It's like, you might be like, what the heck is this ad? Whatever, scroll. Um, because there's no connection there, there's no authenticity there. And companies know this. They want people to feel that they can get in there, with people and their feelings and how they feel about a product, and get that across to their friends and their family. So that's why doing all of these things, being as passionate and as authentic as possible, shows that to companies. So that is it. It's a lot, but you got this. And trust me, if someone like me, who, because I understand what it takes, because I feel like I have to say this, because a lot of people, when I tell them all of this, they say, okay, well, why aren't you as famous, or why don't you have all of these gigs or all these things? Um, and it is because it is a lot of work that I don't necessarily want to do. I don't want to be also having a 9 to 5. It is very difficult, because it is, being a content creator is pretty much a job. It's like a full-time job. You have to do so much of it, and constantly, and always being like, always having unique and different things. So, I mean, if someone like me, who kind of chugs along and sprinkles content here and there, and I understand my value, and if I've been able to do gigs and do big, like, stuff with companies and stuff, then you can trust that you can. You just have to know your worth, and people like working with professional people because they are way more reliable. And unfortunately, there's a lot of cosplayers who, um, they haven't been very professional, and a lot of companies, that's the example that they have. So you want to kind of, um, make the difference, or be the difference. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful for you. I know this was so much info, but it's something that you guys have requested for so long, and I really, really wanted to show you, and I want to encourage you to go out there and make these kits, and talk to people, like, in different cons and companies and brands, and sign up for influencer stuff online. A lot of companies have influencer, um, stuff available, where you can just sign up through their website, to be in their campaigns. You just have to look. You have to do the research and see what it is that also fits your brand, and start to work on that and narrowing that. Work on your social media. That's always a plus. Unfortunately, it's a lot of work, but so worth it, though. So worth it. Anyways, I can't wait to see what you do. All right, good luck. You got this. Message me If you have questions, or if you have other questions that I can maybe do on another video or something, whatever. You got this. All right. Good luck. I believe in you. Get those jobs. Get that money. I love you. Bye.